that first part was all you really need to know, basically, just an awareness of where the libraries are defined, and you can call synchronised library to update them. That's it, and also to place your objects and patches inside the home directories of the patches file. So what about though if you want to do something like have your own library? Well, okay, that is also possible with the new structure. And what we can do, we come to the right application, we go to our preferences, and to create a new one we can simply just do add library, and we have to give it a name, which is what's going to come up when you do object searches, etc. Now you could call it what you like, basically. I'm going to actually call one axoloti.private because I'm going to show you a different thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually describe which directory it's actually going to go into. And we can do that by just selecting a directory, and I'm going to go into here, do documents, Axoloti, and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it axoloti.private. Okay, and create. Okay, a little buggy, you have to go up to this directory to select it. That's just the way the style works. But sorry, I'm actually just going to call it private because otherwise it'll be too long. Private. Okay, now that would be enough. If I just wanted to store it locally, that's all I would need to do. I'd just create this, and then I could put objects and patches directories into that directory, and I'd be done. But actually, I've actually got a private repository which I use for my patches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that. So it's actually held by Git. It's actually stored on one called Bitbucket. And what I'm going to need for that, first of all, is I need the URL for the repository, which I've got fortunately here. I can put this in here. And I'm not interested in revision. I don't need a contributor prefix for this, but I do need to actually authorize this account. So what I do is I put in my username and password, and that's it. And now I could press OK here, but what I'm actually going to do is to check that I've done it right. I'm actually going to do hit the init button, and it warns you that this is going to. So what this does is it reinitializes the repository, and what will happen is this will take a little bit of time just to sort out, and then you can actually see over here in the console. Repo initialized successfully private, sync successful private. So that means that my repo is done. If I press OK here now, I've actually got a new one called private. So this actually allows you to store your own patches and objects on a separate server, which is a good thing to do because obviously that means that they can be backed up easily. I haven't actually. Oh, sorry. One thing you have to do, if you do this, you have to then reload the object library. That will basically just also check the private directory as well. And then if we come into here, you can now see that I've actually got my own patches as well that I've already defined. This one actually isn't in the correct form. Yeah. So that's how you can create your own ones as well. So the last thing I want to show you actually is how to deal with the fact that you haven't actually got the computer connected to the internet. Now, what I would highly recommend you do is Axoloti is not going to connect to the internet except for if you use this synchronize option, and also when you very first upgrade to the new version of Axoloti. So my recommendation, so you don't have to go through this step, is actually just to connect it up quickly whilst you do the initial download of the objects, and then from that point on you don't have to connect to the internet. But if that's not practical, as for some people it's not in music studios, there is an alternative approach which is a bit more cumbersome but works. Okay, so what we need to do for that is we're going to actually stop Axoloti. I'm going to quit it. Sorry, yeah, I'm going to quit Axoloti. Very quickly leave that one. Now what we're going to do is, so what we're after is actually the factory objects. And so what we're going to do is to go over to here. Now in this your Axoloti, GitHub Axoloti factory, which we'll publish, is where the objects are actually stored. Now, What we can actually do from here is use this download zip button to actually download it. But before we do that, the important thing to do is to ensure that you've got the correct version of the objects. Now, the so-called master branch here is the development versions, which would not be the correct version and may not work with the released version of Axoloti. What you need is the number that actually tags on to the same version as you're using. So in this particular case, we're using 1.06. It will be different when it's released. It'll be 1.07, I guess, or 1.1 or something. At that point, we can simply just hit the download button. Okay, now, so this is all assuming you haven't got that. So this you would do, obviously, on a machine that does have access to the internet. You can do this at the same time as you download Axoloti. Then you can transfer that zip file over to the computer that's running Axoloti that doesn't have access to the internet. Okay, the next thing we need to do is you need to, on the computer that you're running Axoloti, you need to go into the home directory, with the one that stores your Axoloti Press. Now this one I've obviously been downloading here, so I'm going to actually I'm going to remove the Axoloti Factory library for the moment, just because I'm going to show you what's going on here. And so, in fact, actually, we can remove everything here. We can remove, yeah, I'll remove everything for the moment, just so you can see it's empty. Okay. Now, first of all, we want to do is we want to actually stop Axoloti from accessing the internet. And the way we're going to do that is using a new mode called fail-safe mode. Fail-safe mode will prevent it from any internet access, etc. Now, the way you do that is very simple. All you do is you need to create a file inside the Axoloti home directory, so the one where usually your press file is, and call it fail-safe. And we can do that simply on the Mac by just doing touch fail-safe, but it doesn't matter how you create the file at all. The only thing is that we end up with a file called fail-safe. It doesn't matter if it's empty or whatever. It mustn't have an extension or anything. It just has to be called fail-safe. Okay, and then what we can do is we can actually start Axoloti again. Oh, we can start it for the first time. Okay. Now, okay, this error is just coming up. Doesn't really mean very much. It just means that the factory library doesn't exist, which is what we already know because I've just deleted them. But the key point is, you can see up the top here it says it's in fail-safe mode. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go into our preferences, and we're going to say on the Axoloti factory we're going to edit it, and we're going to actually say it's a local library. So this, you can leave the remote stuff here, won't make any harm, but what this means is that basically it's just going to look into this directory for it. So we can just do OK on that, and we can do OK on that. We could do exactly the same, of course, with the version as well of the community library. Okay, so now what we're going to actually do is we're going to come to our disk here, and we're going to basically come into our downloads we've just downloaded, which is Axoloti Factory. I'm going to save myself a bit of typing just by renaming this automatically to Factory. And then what we're going to do is we're going to simply copy this, copy Axoloti Factory, go to my directory here, and simply do paste. I can close this. Now the next thing you must do is also, because we're obviously done now, we've done this bit with the internet, we can actually close Axoloti here, and we can also remove this failsafe node. If you don't remove the failsafe file, it will just start the failsafe again. And now, if we actually come up to here and start Axoloti again, this time it will automatically load up the objects, and we can check in here, and we can see that actually, yeah, there's all the objects. So that mechanism is the way that you can actually just simply download the factory objects from a completely separate machine, just transfer them over. Of course, this is not as advantageous as using the synchronised library, because it means if we update the objects, you're going to have to manually do it on download them again from a computer and then put them over here. So it's not the preferred route, but it's a route that works. You can also, if you're running Axoloti on another machine, if you're running on the machine that does have access to, you can just also copy that Axoloti's factory directory over from one machine to another, and that will also work. That will have the advantage that if you do later connect it to the internet, if you do synchronize, it will work. So that's the end of this part. There's just one final video which I want you to do, which is to show you how to contribute to the user library. And so that's the next one. Thank you.